pilot who chased UFO reveals much more of his story. October 8, 2019. Jazz Show published the article below on HOTAIR.com, reporting more information from Commander David Fravor, a U.S. Navy pilot who came face-to-face with UFOs in one of his missions. Pilot who chased UFO reveals much more of his story. Former U.S. military pilot David Fravor first witnessed UFOs doing impossible maneuvers. By now, you should be familiar with retired U.S. Navy Commander David Fravor as the fighter pilot who witnessed what became known as the 2004 White Tic Tac UFO, leading to one of the notable videos released by the Pentagon in the last 2 years. Recently, Fravor has given several interviews to many major news outlets, talking about his remarkable experience. But last October 5 he appeared on Joe Rogan's show for a nearly 2-hour discussion, which turned into a deep and serious dive. I will incorporate the full video of the interview below, but first I wanted to cover some of the highlights. However, the whole program is worth it, even if you are already familiar with the story. Fravor goes into many details that we had not heard before. Also on the show was filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who recently released a movie about Bob Lazar. He briefly diverts the conversation sometimes by talking about Lazar and some things like the aliens of the past, but also adds a lot of good details about recent revelations. Sometimes when people go to Rogan's show, it turns out to be a disaster. Just ask Elon Musk or Tom DeLonge. Joe has a way of dragging them down various rabbit holes or getting them into embarrassing mischief. This did not happen with Fravor, which maintained an air of professionalism all the time. Well, there is a possible exception that I will come to in a moment. Here are some of the highlights. One thing he revealed at the beginning of the interview when describing the Tic Tac encounter was that his Super Hornet Fahrenheit per R-18F aircraft was not equipped with any live missiles. Simulated loads were installed because they were scheduled for a training mission. Presumably that would leave him with nothing more than his 20mm rotary cannon if things had tense up with the unidentified ship. Another fascinating detail that he included was that during several encounters with the Tic Tacs on both coasts, the pilots were able to determine that the objects were actively blocking their radar systems, making it impossible to lock them into their attacking equipment. And we're talking about one of the best and newest radar systems in the world. This is interesting because at least it implies an actively engaged intelligent force that controls the Tic Tacs. Whether these objects are local or remote, biological or AI-oriented, we do not know. Fravor also revealed that government and military investigations into these incidents are far from over. He has been personally summoned to Washington several times this year for private and confidential meetings with senior government officials. He was not allowed to be more specific than that. A potentially disturbing story that Fravor tells at the 49th minute of the interview, in case you want to skip ahead, concerns his sense of humor and some antics that he and the other writers often do at the time. The story basically involves making your planes look like a UFO in the night sky when they see people camping in remote areas. Fravor: we used to fly a lot with night vision goggles in the Hornets, and with the night vision goggles, you can see a bonfire about 50 miles away. We used to do that. Good places were places like El Centro, California. There are some bombing camps and people are going camping in the Superstition Mountains, so we went flying at night with our glasses on. You would see a fire and say, UFO time. And then you spin the plane around 600 knots and then you pull the energy back to idle so you can't be heard. Then you approach the fire and turn off the lights, because we are in a restricted area, so you could do that. There are lights on. You can only see if you wear sight glasses. Then the other planes can see us, but no one else can see us. Then you point to the spot, and as soon as you get to the fire, put the plane upright and turn on the afterburners, light them, you count to 3, and then you leave. UFO snapshot reports. Unfortunately, Fravor may have ended up with half of the UFO reports made to MUFO and by people camped in Southern California over the years. Still, I don't doubt the story at all. I knew a lot of pilots during my year serving in an aircraft carrier, and they tended to have a sick sense of humor, as Fravor describes. Anyway, these were some of the highlights that stood out for me. Here is the video. Like I said, it's pretty long, but it's definitely worth it if you have any interest in that.